Dr. Glenn Butt.
I want to ask a question later. I want to know if there's any focus on educating the individual contractor to build sustainably. Is there any organized focus for that? That's a good question. And the planning commission people. That's what I was going to ask.
Glenn, you're on mute.
I'm going to talk about climate resilience in the Anthropocene. This is our present resilience plan. I call it rugged individualism. This was the scene after Hurricane Michael in Mexico Beach. And you can see that we got one person who planned for this really, really well and is in great shape, and everybody else was devastated. We're in trouble. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change just a couple months ago issued a severe warning that climate change is now irreversible. And while we need to get the carbon out of the atmosphere to keep things from getting even worse than they would be, we are going to have to deal with climate change. It's here now. It's going to get worse. And the question is, what will this look like? I'd like to go back into history and talk about India and the 1850s, 1860s. The British East India Company decided it wanted a different capital. It didn't like Calcutta, and so it built a new capital on the Bay of Bengal, 35 miles southeast of Calcutta. It was finished in 1864, and the reason you never heard of this is in 1867, a tsunami completely destroyed it only 3 years later. Now, you may notice, if you look at the map, that there's no cities on the Bay of Bengal because the topology of it funnels any tsunami or hurricane, and so everything is pushed further back. And so the bottom line of this is resilience requires that we not build in dangerous places. The problem we have is that the dangerous places are going to greatly expand in the future due to climate change. And we have to depend on models, and we don't even know which model. So here you have different models of the amount of sea rise. And if we get, as a rule of thumb, so you know what we're dealing with, 4 feet of water would flood most of New Orleans if we get that amount of sea rise. Well, if you get this intermediate high model, that's going to happen around the turn of the century, 2100. But things have been generally trending at the highest, the worst of the models. If you look at the recent history, and that one will be flooded in about 40 years. So that's about the, means that right about now, we need to be making decisions. So what can we do? We need to stop the mistakes of the past. One of the things that we've decided in this country over the last 100 years is that we aren't going to take any risks. We have totally prevented the forest fires out west so that the forests are totally overgrown, and we totally prevented the natural flooding. The result is that we're having horrific fires in the West Coast, and we're also having more and more flooding here because we do not have the wetlands anymore. Without the flooding, you lose your wetlands. We need to rebuild these wetlands. We need to rebuild the barrier islands, but that's not enough. You have to restore a whole ecosystem, and that's going to take a lot of money, about 50 billion just for Southeast Louisiana, never mind the rest of the United States and the Florida and everything. One of the big things we need to do is reform insurance and our governmental response, the FEMA response. If you look at this globally, we cannot keep rebuilding the same houses over and over again. What we need to do is look to saving people by having them resettle places that are not in danger. Now, in New Orleans, you can imagine the incredible pain this is going to cause. These people grew up here. This is their community. They've just had this terrible loss, and now they're being asked to move. And the problem is that this is what the entire Gulf Coast and eastern coast of the United States is going to be dealing with. It's not just here. What we need is a plan. We have to have a plan with transparency. That means that people will know what's going to happen in advance, and we have to have a plan that's fair, and that so that people do not feel like they're being discriminated against when they're asked to move. And there's a great example of this in Australia. They have a very detailed plan. It's in the law. They have a cabinet level work on this, and they've just done a wonderful job. We have nothing, but there is a bill by Senator Coons would provide for a lot of this and help us be more resilient. Senator Coons has also proposed a climate corps for the youth, which I think is a great idea also.